All right, and that's what this is all about today, is rising to new heights of consciousness and awareness. That no matter what's going on or what's coming up in my life, that can be a new opportunity to rise even higher. And that's what we're called to do, because we're all called to be masters in this life. We're all called to be masters of our own life and use the power of our minds to manifest through the pure substance of love our world according to divine law. See, you're using the power of your mind whether you know it or not. And if you're worrying about things, if you're coming from fear and anger, you are manifesting your world through the mistaken ideas of fear and anger and worry. But if you're using your mind to focus on the pure substance of divine love and follow and practice divine principles, you're manifesting your world according to divine law. And that's the way it is. You have the power. You have the power. Stop giving your power away to all those images out there that you think are determining what you experience in life. No, you have the power to experience life on your own terms. Are you doing it? No? That wasn't a trick question, by the way. That was not a trick question. So I was watching this great thing on Netflix. They have the Coach's Rules for Life. It was so cool because I watched a guy who is close to my heart, Doc Rivers, because he's the one who brought the Celtics their last championship. And so Doc Rivers, as a boy in school, everyone knows he was the famous coach and he was a famous player. But in high school, or even earlier than that, he was very young in school. The teacher asked him to go up and write on the board what he wanted to do in life. And he wrote, "I'm going to be a professional basketball player." And she said, "Erase that and write something else. That's not realistic." And so he thought about it. He went up. He said, "No, that's what I want to be." He wrote it again. So she says, "Okay, you're not going to write something else? You can go home." She calls his father, sends him home, because she didn't think he was being realistic about what he wanted to be in life. So his father came and picked him up, and he brought him in the car home. And on the way home, they had a conversation. And his dad talked to him and said, "You're not doing very well in school, and you're not paying attention, listening to the teachers." And so he thought, all right, he doesn't get it either. But at the very end, before they're going to go in the house, he turns to him and says, "But it's your dream." He says, "Whatever you decide to do," and I think it's a little early to decide what you're going to do in life, but whatever you decide to do, finish the race. Finish the race. Keep getting up. Keep moving forward. The whole idea of life is to keep going, is to rise up, to keep rising to higher levels of experience. And sometimes we do think life is knocking us down. But guess what? Maybe it's just knocking off some of those things that are been holding us back. Maybe it's just presenting us with a point of decision. This is the moment where I am going to take a step forward. This is the moment where I'm going to heal. This is the moment I'm going to do something great with my life. This is the moment of decision. Perhaps that's what it's showing us. There's a wonderful saying. It's an old saying. It's by Robert Ingersoll that says, "We rise by lifting others." Isn't that wonderful? I can't rise by putting you down. How many times do you see in the world people trying to rise by putting others down? It's become an epidemic in this country. We can only rise by lifting others up. It's the only way, because we are one and we are connected. I love Robert Ingersoll. Wasn't he the great agnostic? I love that guy. He had it all going on. He was a very religious and very intelligent writer. And the idea of agnostic was he couldn't prove or disprove the existence of God, but he was just open to find out. He was open to find out through experience. And some of the things he wrote were very practical, that we rise by lifting others. Isn't that practical? I want to rise. I want to know how to do it. So I'm going to practice lifting others. When I practice lifting others, I'm going to rise. I'm going to experience what I want. So once we rise above the sphere of conflict, once I get out of that sphere of attack and defense, we'll be able to keep our altitude in consciousness. See, once we rise, we'll be able to keep our altitude and we'll be soaring. You see, we'll soar to greater heights of spiritual awareness and abundance of love in our lives. That's what we really want, is to keep that altitude. Because how many times have you experienced life as a roller coaster? You have these ups and then you have these downs. And you go, I can't believe that happened again. Well, those things are always going to happen. But it's how you respond to it which makes it an up or down. Because the wind's always blowing. It's up to you to set your sails in the direction that you want to go. I told the story a long time ago when I went parasailing. I like hang gliding. Is it called parasailing? We call it parapente in Spanish. You jump off a mountain and a kite holds you up. So there's a guy in back of you. He's the pilot, and you're just along for the ride. So there's a little bit of trust that happens there. He says, you just run. We run together. We jump off the mountain. Oh, okay. I don't even know this guy. I'm jumping off a mountain with him already. A little too soon in our relationship, don't you think? Jump off the mountain. So we took that leap together, and he had this thing that would beep, and it would gauge the wind, the lift. The thermal lift. So he would have a beeping going on, so he would know when the thermal lift was happening and where it was happening. And he used that to guide us, to go higher, and he'd do all kinds of things with that kite. And it was like flying around, but just on the wind. And so the next person that went, he went with a different pilot. His little thermal lift indicator went out. The batteries died, just like my batteries in my microphone die in the mid-sermon sometimes. So it was in mid-flight and the batteries died and that was it. He didn't have the thermal indicator. So he watched the birds. There were hawks flying and gliding. They didn't flap their wings. They just were gliding on the thermal lift. And so they watched those hawks flying around. And they just followed them. And pretty soon, because what we watched was they went off the edge and they were flying for a while, and immediately they started going down, and they went down below the tree line. We couldn't see them anymore. We said, I hope they didn't crash into the trees. But very soon after that, we saw them slowly circling. And I noticed what was happening. The hawk up above was doing the same thing. He was following the hawk, and the kite circled, and it got higher and higher and higher, and pretty soon they were rising to new heights. I love that story because it was something that happened to me that I could witness that was also a metaphor for our lives. If we follow the Spirit of the living God and what we see naturally occurring in the universe, the natural ways of health, the natural ways of relating to one another, the natural ways of experiencing the Spirit. If we just follow that, we're going to have a great flight. We're going to just do fine. But what we have a tendency to do is to trust in these mechanisms of modern society. And we end up putting all of our trust in things that aren't in our best interest. Now, you can take that for whatever you want, but all I know is that miracles are natural, that being a spiritual being is a natural way of living, of loving your neighbor is a natural way of living, and all this other stuff that's going on is not natural, and it's not right. And we must stop it because people are getting hurt. And when people or the planet is getting hurt, we're doing something wrong. So we need to stop doing that stuff. That's the end of that story. So what I'm going to do is wait on, instead of going with my own limited thinking, with my own limited technology, I want to wait upon the presence of God, the presence of the Spirit. I want to wait, observe. How is that moving? And I want to move in that flow. Instead of always being in this constant back and forth, attack and defense, I want to be in a flow. And so they that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. I know what happens when you get into this attack and defense mode. You sap all your strength. You get tired, you get weary. Don't you get weary? Don't you just go, I've had enough of this. I got to turn off the TV. I just got to go for a walk in the woods. I'm going to go for a swim in the ocean. I'm going to let go of all this stuff that's bubbling on the surface and get back into the flow. So if you wait upon the Lord, which is waiting upon the presence of God within you, you will renew your strength. You will be able to mount up with wings like eagles. You will run and you won't be weary. You'll walk and you won't faint, meaning that you will walk through life without any stress or strain. So why would you fly or try to fly with the wings of a sparrow when the wings of an eagle have been given you? It's from A Course in Miracles. It's a great question. And if you've grown, if you've been evolving spiritually, you're too big now for those little wings of the sparrow. You're not going to get off the ground. You're going to be grounded. You're going to flap and flap and flap. And what served you in the past will not get you off the ground now. You're going to have to employ your spiritual consciousness that you have attained. Don't go back to worldly pursuits and worldly ideas and the ways of the world of attack, defense, argument. Who cares? That whole story is going to be over. It's over each moment. If I stay in the now, I am not going to be concerned with that story because I'm telling a new story. I'm telling a story that is always present here now. Isn't that great? You can do that. These are things that we can do. You don't think you can do it because you're just so addicted to observation. But when Jesus was asked, how do I know when the kingdom has come? He said, the kingdom of heaven does not come through observation. You can look it up. That's Luke chapter 17. The kingdom of heaven does not come with observation. You can't say, oh, there it is over there, or here it is over here, because the kingdom of God is within you. Wow. He has placed squarely within me all the power to live in the kingdom, to experience the kingdom, and then to be the kingdom. To be the place where God shows up. There's an Eddie Watkins song that says, right? I'm the place where God shows up. Now, I really want you to experience that. I'm not just here trying to do a show and entertain you. It's not my job. My job is to inspire you to be the place where God shows up. God shows up in you. Right there. God shows up in me. Right here. God shows up right where you are. And that's an amazing idea. That all the power of heaven and earth has been given to you. So why would you choose to think with the limited, separate mind of a separate individual consciousness when the Christ mind is within you? I mean, that's a good question. Why do I continue to try to understand the universe through my limited individual consciousness when I do have the faculty of the consciousness of Christ, or the oneness, the I am presence, the universal mind of God, the intelligence of the universe that knows how to make a baby or to grow an oak tree from an acorn? I have all of that within me, that universal intelligence that knows how all of that happens. If I just get my limited thinking out of the way, Spirit will do the thinking for me. Now, I have to use my thinking to get in the flow of unlimited consciousness, to get in the flow of Christ consciousness. I have to make a determination, and I have to keep affirming that it's true. Because guess what? I don't believe it. I have taught myself and have been taught in my human experience that I am separate, that I am small, that I am going to have to die before I get to heaven. What kind of craziness is that? I'm teaching you never left heaven. That you've just been telling yourself a story about who you are and where you are that's not true. You are an eternal being with all the power and possibility that exists in the universe. Get that in our mind for a second. If we can just dwell on that thought, I am an unlimited being full of power and possibility. I am an unlimited being full of power and possibility. I am an unlimited being full of power and possibility. And the more I affirm these truths, the more it becomes my experience and it becomes the world in which I live. And anyone that comes into my world, it becomes your world too. Why? Because it's the real world. It's eternal. It's the one that is always there. Everything else passes away. Stop investing in that transitory experience. Invest your whole heart and mind, your time, talent, and your treasure in the real world. And you will be blessed beyond measure because you already are. We have been given the mind of Christ. We have access to universal mind, the mind of God. Why would I choose to think with this kind of mind? Maybe it served me in the past, but this is the time when I decide to release all that no longer serves me. I release it today. Release it with me, everyone watching. I release all that no longer serves me. Now where am I? I'm waiting upon the Lord, or the divine intuition to speak to me. The I am presence is right there in my consciousness. As I release all other thoughts, that consciousness begins to vibrate within me, and I start to get impressions. I start to get intuitions. I start to see visions of beauty and grandeur. I start to feel more love. I start to feel peace. I experience that peace throughout my body, and I start to experience myself as healthy, healed, and whole. A magnificent creation, magnificently extending itself in all ways. All love lives here in me. If we can get these ideas into our heart and mind, how wonderful life is. And the fullness of life becomes ours. So we want to interpret that scripture metaphysically. Let's see if we can do it. They that listen to the Spirit of God within and trust the guiding principles of truth will rise to new heights of awareness. That's my metaphysical interpretation of Isaiah 40:31. How do you like that one? Does that sound better? It's the same thing. I'm just saying it in a way that I can understand it. And that's what we try to do, is practice the principles of truth so that we can understand them and we can put them into practice in our life. So it goes on to say, They that walk in power move quickly through the stages of their awakening with grace and ease. They will learn to soar above the conflicts of this world and fully master the Christ energies here on earth. That's what it's saying. It's saying the same thing. It's just perhaps in a language that I understand a little better, because this is the way that I express myself. So let's say it again. This is Isaiah, but it is metaphysically interpreted. They that listen to the Spirit of God within. So instead of they that wait upon the Lord, it's they who listen to the Spirit of God within and trust the guiding principles of truth to rise to new heights of spiritual awareness. That's the mounting up with wings like eagles. We are rising to new heights of spiritual awareness. They walk in power and they move quickly through the stages of their spiritual awakening with grace and ease. They learn to soar above the conflicts of the world and to master the Christ energies here on earth. Now, I'm not saying you'll never run into obstacles on earth. What I am saying is you will never see them as obstacles again. You will always see them as what? Opportunities. Thank you very much. You will never see them again as an obstacle, but an opportunity. And I'm not saying that you'll never run into conflicts here on earth, but you will never see them as conflicts anymore. You'll see them as a moment of conversion of this energy, or a coalescing of energies, coming together of energies. And a coming together perhaps of seeming opposites into a realm of oneness. It will become to you a moment of healing, a moment of faith instead of a moment of dread and fear. So you will never experience again an obstacle as an obstacle, or a conflict as a conflict. But you will simply see it as it is. Something's happening. My microphone. Did it disappear? All right. So we have opportunities before us, don't we? We have a lot of opportunities these days. And we have a lot of seeming conflicts that we must see as a moment of healing. These opposite energies come together. When light and darkness come together, what happens? The darkness disappears. Because that's the function of light. So I want you to be the light of the world. I want you to see yourself as the light. When a conflict comes up, it's just a darkness in your mind being manifest before you so that you can be the light. There's a great saying, is if you see only darkness all around you, perhaps it's because you were meant to be the light. You are the light in this situation. When I was faced with financial challenges in my life, I took it as an opportunity to increase my prosperity consciousness. And it worked. It worked because I saw it as an opportunity. And I couldn't get enough of these principles of prosperity and how to practice them. And actually, it became such a joyous exercise in how much can I receive from this universe that is constantly pouring out blessings upon me. When I saw how much it took to become a Unity minister, at first I was a little depressed. Because I'd been ordained twice already. I had been a spiritual teacher almost all my life. I had spent 20 years on the road teaching A Course in Miracles. And I had to start from the very first rung on the ladder. I hadn't taken one class in Unity. But I practiced the principles of thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind. And if you read Matthew, it says, when you pray, claim it's yours already and it will be. Oh my goodness, I love that. So I was claiming I'm a Unity minister before I even took the first class. And just a couple weeks ago, we had the final celebration of installation for Reverend Tony Cryer at Unity on Cape Cod. Thank you. But I can't take any credit for that. It was just what I had to do. It was just, I saw before me an opportunity. Like, yes, it could have been, I could have seen it as an obstacle, and my mind could have said, I'm just going to teach a Course in Miracles. I'm not going to do this. This is too much work. I could have had these kind of thoughts. This is too much work. I can't do it. All these kinds of things that may come into your mind. They're going to come into your mind. But when they do, you say, no, thank you. That doesn't serve me. I am a Unity minister. This is what I do. I realized when I read Emily Cady and Charles Fillmore and Eric Butterworth, this is what I've been teaching anyway for 25 years. This is perfectly in alignment with how I'm living my life. So why wouldn't I want to be? Why wouldn't I want to do all the work? And what a blessing. What an incredible opportunity and blessing. For each class that I took and each person that I met was a blessing in my life and helped me raise my consciousness to new heights of awareness. Each class I took as an opportunity to raise my consciousness. Instead of saying, oh, I already know this stuff, or I already read that author, I already did that program. Don't do that to yourself. This is a new day. It's a new moment. I've never been here before with this group of people in this time, in this place. And so each and every class and every single person I met was another opportunity to realize the Christ in me. So I wasn't even focused anymore on being a Unity minister because I was already claiming that. I was claiming that before the first class. So I didn't care really to look to the future. I wanted to allow the Christ in me to unfold. And so this is the wonderful opportunity that I saw in that possible obstacle. I didn't see it as an obstacle. I saw it as an opportunity. When I'm faced with a physical challenge, it's an opportunity to improve my health and my wellness. When I'm faced with a physical challenge, it's an opportunity to look at my diet, to look at my exercise, to look at my relationships, to look at how I live my life in this body. It's an opportunity to improve my wellness and my health. How am I standing? How am I sitting? How am I walking? How am I talking? What thoughts are going through my head while I'm doing it? What am I cooking? What am I eating? All opportunities. And I'm going to tell you, we have a very tasty vegetarian diet. It is amazing. We discover more meals that are so healthy for you and so delicious. Now I just got to watch how much I exercise because I just love eating. But now I'm saying to you that you'll never run into an obstacle that you cannot turn into an opportunity. So when darkness appears in any form, I look at it as an opportunity to be the light of the world. And that's what I'm asking all of you to consider, that you too can look at each and everything in your life, that there are no obstacles and conflicts, that it's the universe come to teach you something and to bring you into new heights of spiritual awareness. So turn your obstacles into opportunities. Turn your... Come on now, that's a scary thought to jump over that. Do it in your mind. Do it in your mind. Yeah, that's so exciting. Look at that. Wow. Woo! I love it. And you'll never know that you can make that leap until you do it. You'll never know. What they're not showing you is that There's a net down below her. And the net below her is God. It's the Spirit of the living God within you. It's the Holy Spirit that seeks only your highest good. So know that that is real. That really is the true reality in which we live. That there is a spirit of eternal love, an energy, a frequency of love. Not a being, but a frequency of love. There's no decisions of going back and forth. It's always extension of love and highest possible frequency at that moment. So the universe itself is always conspiring in your favor. It's always extending to you that which will support your highest good. So take that leap. Turn your obstacles into opportunities, and you'll never, ever have the same conflicts that you perceive again. You'll always see it as a new moment and a new opportunity to rise to new heights in your life. So keep rising, my friends. Be blessed. Be a blessing. I love you. And get out there and be the light of the world.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityoncapecod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.